Game begin.
So, yeah, my name is Markus. Hello, everybody. And as you already mentioned, I was to programming games very, very early, although I'm not really sure if you can call developing a tic-tac-toe on an old Commodore actually developing games. But here I am. I am the founder, together with a friend, of Out of the Park Developments. And what we are doing is we operate in a small niche of the gaming market. We do sports management / sports simulation games. And yeah, so that was the first slide. We do have mainly baseball related products, but we also publish an ice hockey game, which is called Franchise Hockey Manager, but we are not developing that. It's a group of friends and we act as a publisher. So what we do here is Out of the Park Baseball. We do Out of the Park Baseball Go, and there you have it, Franchise Hockey Manager. And Out of the Park Baseball has been around for a long, long time, for over 20 years now. In fact, actually the 22 is not the year, it is the version number. And yeah, it was a crazy journey, a little bit of a crazy story. At least I hear this every time I talk about it. And so I want to share it with you today. So we have two founders. One is me, Markus, and the other one is Andreas. And I basically coded the first lines of code for Out of the Park Baseball in 1997, and Andreas joined a little bit later, and I'm more the creative driving force behind this. I'm definitely not the best programmer on the earth, but I think my skill is more seeing the whole, the design, the game concept, and I do a little bit of programming. And essentially, early on, I did everything myself. I did the art, I did the programming, I even did the marketing, which was basically non-existent. But a little bit later, Andreas joined, and he was more responsible for the technical things like running our servers and doing stuff like server backups, forum software, and all those things that I absolutely had no clue about. So we were a good team. He had no clue about baseball, and I had no clue about the stuff that he did. So on top of that, over the years, the team grew a little bit. We will come to the timeline after the next slide. And currently we do have, it's a little bit pixely here. So what we currently have is we have 7 full-time employees in Germany. It's Chris, Daniel, Jorin, Alex, Eric, Andreas, and me. And we are all working remotely from home office. And on top of that, we also have some freelance contractors, mainly in the USA and Canada, but we also have one in the United Kingdom. And they mostly do development work, but also some marketing and other things related to our databases and support team. And then we have many, many volunteers from our community. Our community is really big. There are like tens of thousands users on our forums and lots of beta testers, hundreds of testers, modders. We have a database team. We have a raster research team, because for a sports game you need up-to-date data, of course. We have a team of streamers, and yeah, all of them are doing an amazing job, and it's really great to have the resources of such a dedicated community. So the timeline, let me skip to the next frame here. So the timeline. That didn't work. No, yes, now it works. Okay. So we have the year 1992. I was about 15 years old, and a friend of mine, we were a group of young guys hanging out at the old playground at our old school, and we were playing soccer and table tennis. And a friend of he went to Miami on a trip, and he had relatives there. And as a gift, they gave him a couple of a baseball bat, and some gloves, and he took them back home. And we started playing around with baseball, and it was love at first sight. We all loved the game. We loved the sport, and we also founded a club a couple of years later. We found a coach, and it was a lot of fun. And then I absolutely got obsessed by the sport. So when I started studying computer sciences at the University of Hamburg, it was about the same time I wrote the first lines of code for Out of the Park Baseball. That's the name I came up with. Out of the Park is kind of what the moderator or the commentary in the baseball game says when somebody hits a home run, which is the best thing you can do, basically. And he says he hits it out of the park. So I figured, yeah, that's a cool name. It's a little bit long. The typing email is a little bit of a pain, but, well, it is what it is. And in May 1999, the first version, which was actually developed in Turbo Pascal for DOS. I don't know if you guys still remember DOS. That was really fun. Was launched with the help of a friend in the USA who I met over a forum back then. And it sold 250 copies, and it was great. I mean, I was a student, and was, yay, a little bit of money, and I can finance my studies from that, and I was very happy. And I continued working on it. And as you see down there in the screenshots, basically very terrible art and logo artwork, but I did this all by myself. Yeah, and in April 2000, we launched the new version Out of the Park Baseball 2, or I launched it, because I was still alone back then. And it sold already 1,000 copies, and that was a decent chunk of money. And also, I had to spend a lot of time supporting the product and continuing to develop it. So I figured, screw it, I'm going to drop out of my studies at the university and just going to concentrate on this full time, which is what I did. So then, a little bit later, where are we now? A little bit later, Andreas joined the company, which was very nice for me because I could focus solely on development of the game and not worry about things like servers and so on. And then we hired a graphics designer, and so we grew a little bit. And in 2004, Sports Interactive were the makers of Football Manager, which is a really, really massively successful soccer or football, depending on where you live, game. And so I and Aurelio, our graphics designer back then, we moved to London, and we worked together with Sports Interactive on improving the game. And so in 2006, the first version of that collaboration was released. It wasn't very successful because it was a complete new rewrite and lots of bugs. And yeah, that was probably, I don't know, a low point in our career. But it paved the way for the future because we had a brand new code base which could handle all sorts of things. And yeah, so it was the right decision in the end. And the guys from Sports Interactive are very friendly and can only recommend them. And they are awesome. And I learned a lot. We all learned a lot. So that was 2006. And then in 2007, we won the first Metacritic PC Game of the Year award, which was kind of funny because almost nobody knew us back then. And we were very proud. Oh. But still, the game wasn't that massive of a business success. So because of several licensing issues with the proper Major League Baseball league in the USA, we had to basically end our deal with Sports Interactive because it wasn't making that much money for them, and we just said, all right, we're gonna do it on our own, no problem, and we still remain friends, everything is all right. And then we started also developing a mobile version, so it was called IOTP back then, which launched in 2011, and after that, the real journey began. We launched the first version of the hockey management game. And then in 2015, we signed an MLB licensing deal, MLB, the baseball league in the USA. And that was really a booster for our success. And it was a lot of work because everything we did had to be approved by the MLB. but in the end it was really worth it. And in 2016, we signed a licensing deal with the MLB Players Association, and the game actually won the Metacritic PC Game of the Year award for the second time. And as far as we know, that's the first game franchise ever to do it. And that was kind of fun. We got review bombed back then by the Witcher 3 fans who were disappointing that the Witcher didn't win it, but oh well, that's life, I guess. So
that's a pity for the Witcher.
So the next big thing was Perfect Team, which launched in 2018. It's a game mode inside Out of the Park Baseball, which is similar to Ultimate Team in FIFA and the other game modes in other sports games. It has a few unique twists because we have like a very nicely evolving league structure, and it's awesome. And currently there are over or almost 50,000 teams competing in this universe, and it's a lot of fun. And yeah, for us, the revenue, we more than doubled our revenue because of this. So that was pretty cool.
Okay. Cool.
Well, then nothing major happened, but then of course the pandemic, and as everybody knows, people spent lots of time at home. They played games, and we were also among those games that basically had benefited from this terrible situation. And the MLB season was basically delayed until the middle of summer, so we were all over the news in the USA because all sorts of media, they all simulated the season using our game, and real life managers of the real teams, like for example the guy who manages the San Francisco Giants or the one who manages the Minnesota Twins, they all used our game to practice basically, and they held practicing sessions with their coaching staff so that they wouldn't forget how to manage a game properly. So that was pretty fun. And that was a very successful year for us. And at the end of the year, in October 2020, we were acquired by the Come To Us Corporation, who are very big into mobile gaming. In fact, they haven't released a PC game yet, but they saw lots of potential in us because we were also working in a brand new rewrite for our mobile game, which would then support the Perfect Team mode. Yeah, and that happened this year. So in March 21, we released the current version, OTP 22, including a Korean version, because Come To Us is a Korean company and they helped us with the localization. It was lots of work, and oh man, is this complicated. But we pulled it off, and so now we have a growing Korean community, and they are very demanding but super friendly, and it's fun working with them. And in June 21 we released Out of the Park Baseball Go, which is 100% compatible basically with the desktop game in terms of the perfect team. So you can manage your perfect team whether you're on the go on your phone, on Android or iOS, or you can do it at home at your laptop or on your desktop PC or on your Mac. We even have Linux, which is kind of cool. So yeah, that is basically our timeline. So where are we now? So we do have I can say that the best and most successful baseball strategy game on the market with over 20 years of history. So our card collecting MMO mode Perfect Team is just really driving the revenue, and I'm really happy we decided to do this. Support multiple platforms, desktop and mobile, and we really don't have a competition. So basically we are in our niche, which is frankly a small niche, but there's nobody who even remotely comes close to what we do. And I don't think that will change, because it's just simply, and it would be way too much investment necessary to challenge our position, and it's just not worth it. I mean, you had to invest multiple millions of dollars and lots of time to get where we are, and for this the market is simply not big enough. So I don't think we will be challenged anytime soon in our market, in our little niche. And so we do have a few famous friends, I guess. And The biggest one is John W. Henry. He's the owner of the Boston Red Sox and also of the Liverpool FC football club, for example. He's a very, very nice guy, and we have kind of an email friendship going, and he shares his ideas for the game and also has some business advice from time to time. And he's a really, really cool, laid-back guy. And yeah, and he said this about OTP, which is kind of our little slogan, and we are very proud that he said that about us. And yeah, that's John W. Henry. So, and for the future, what we are doing is, what we want to do is we want to optimize the mobile side of the game. And because right now the game is still a little bit complicated on mobile devices and a little bit too much hardcore, I guess, because the desktop game is super hardcore, very complicated and a steep learning curve. But once you've mastered it, you are hooked. And as I said, we have a really good community and it's fun hanging out there. Yeah, and we also plan on localizations for more markets like Taiwan, Japan, and we already have Korea. And we also want to grow our desktop market share and create a Korean version of the Perfect Team, which is right now based on the Major League Baseball in the USA, but we can also change that or tweak it in a way that it also supports the Korean League. And in the future, we would also love to incorporate blockchain tech and NFTs and Perfect Team so that you can trade your player cards outside the game economy and have a proper investment there. So that's the idea. And we are also hiring all the time. So we are always looking for talented developers, whether you know C++, PHP, JavaScript, TypeScript, or have database experience and good English skills, and you're preferably located in the European time zone because most of our team is in the European time zone, then we would love to hear from you. And yeah, that's basically us. We are a friendly bunch with lots of flexible working hours, and we are having a lot of fun in Slack, where we communicate to 99%, and we have weekly calls, and yeah, we would love to find some talented persons who would love to join our team and maybe share our passion for sports games. So yeah, that's it from my side.